Donald Trump just hit the highest approval rating of his post-White House political life. That's not hyperbole. That's the data. And yet, more than half of Americans say they don't trust him to manage the economy. What's going on here? The numbers are contradictory. The stakes, existential. Let's unpack the most surprising, underreported polling story in America right now. Donald Trump, his rebound, and what it tells us about 2026 and 2028. According to the latest Gallup data, Trump's approval rating is sitting at 47%. That's not just a bump. It's a 5 to 7 point jump compared to where he was during the same period in his first term. He's surging among Republicans. No surprise. Approval is back near 90%. Men. Young voters. Black and Hispanic voters. Yes, even here, Trump's seeing gains. Why? Gallup says it's not necessarily because more people love Trump. It's because more people are identifying as Republicans. Let that sink in. The GOP isn't just maintaining, it's recruiting, quietly, strategically, and apparently successfully. But here's where things get weird. While Trump's overall approval is climbing, his economic numbers are tanking. CNN's latest SSRS poll shows 56% of Americans disapprove of his handling of the economy. Why the disconnect? 3 words: tariffs, inflation, and instability. The public isn't just worried about prices, they're terrified of another trade war. Even traditional Trump voters, blue-collar workers, small business owners, are worried about his unpredictable economic style. When your financial future is a dice roll at Mar-a-Lago, people notice. More Americans today say the country is on the right track than at any time in the last 20 years. Yes, 20. That's counterintuitive, because we're in a climate crisis, an AI reckoning, geopolitical tension. So why the optimism? 2 theories. 1. Trump's chaos is now familiar. He's no longer the unknown disruptor. 2. Biden's was perceived as steady but underwhelming. In that vacuum, Trump's increased popularity starts to look inevitable. This is not a unifying presidency in exile. Trump remains the most polarizing figure in American politics. 90% of Republicans approve. 4% of Democrats do. That's a canyon, not a gap. And when you zoom into issue-specific polling, the fracture is even more dramatic. 54% disapprove of his economic policies. Over 60% oppose his immigration stance. What does this tell us? This isn't about policy. This is about identity, about media ecosystems, about whether you think Trump represents freedom or fascism. Here's why this poll should scare both Democrats and Republicans. Trump's support isn't growing because he's changing. It's growing because the electorate is. More voters, especially young men and minority groups, such as Black men and Hispanics, are being pulled into the Republican orbit, not because of policy, but because of cultural realignment. And with razor-thin margins in the last election, is sizable states such as Georgia, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Wisconsin. Even a 2-point swing could be an electoral earthquake. So what do we do with this mess of data? Simple. Stop asking whether Trump is winning or losing. Start asking who's showing up, who's shifting, and who benefits from the chaos. Because in American politics, polls don't predict the future. They just show us who's writing it.